Um, I know that for the longest time, I called myself having a really big forehead. And that's probably why I never really liked my hair or really loved myself in my natural hair before. I caused a lot of traction putting braids on. So I remember going when I was about, before I permed my hair, and I went to see my dermatologist. I've always had a dermatologist because I have skin issues due to allergies of whatever environment, whatever I eat. Sometimes even like fabrics will cause me to have a rash. I've always been very careful about what I wear, eat, all of those things. I was actually forced into it, but I realized it's helped me in the longevity because I had proper eating habits and self-care habits from an early age. Um, but they were forced on. It wasn't a choice. I just wanted to make that clear. I got there by default, but I was like, I can't be collapsing because I ate something. I can't just be, sick for days because something went in my mouth and, it tasted good there. Then a few minutes later, I'm under a table crying. Um, so, so yeah. So basically, we spoke with Mulim. Then he mentioned this thing called PRPs. I was like, PRP, what's that? I had read about it, but now I got the full explanation. A PRP is where a procedure in where they draw blood from your hand. And P.S. Please make sure you eat before that because you cannot do that without having eaten. You absolutely need food to do that, otherwise you're going to be weak. So they draw lots of bottles, maybe 4 to 5 or so on, maybe 3 to 4, I don't know, depending on you, but I'm gonna say like for me, they drew about 4 vials, and they're pretty big, they drew that blood, they put that blood in those vials into centrifuge spins that sucker round, like for about 5 minutes at a high speed, and that causes the red blood cells and the white blood cells to separate. I mean, this happens right in front of you, right? And then when it stops, you get to see it. So you see how it separates, like oil and water, how oil could be sitting on top and never penetrate, right? And then they extract the red blood and then put it again through the centrifuge. And this time it's just the white blood cells and the platelets, which is the plasma, the platelets separate from the white blood cells, and now so that's what they take. So they extract the platelets, and that's what they insert back. So basically, and then they do a procedure and inject it back in your hair. So I'm going to say this. So in the U.S., they inject you, and you pay over $4,000, and that's just procedure number 1. And it takes time, right? But being here, it's like half the fraction of that. And because of all the traction that I had created in my hair, on my own self, like maybe an inch and a half of my hair had receded. And you could look anywhere we go here. If you see women in braids, I promise you, and they've been wearing braids for a long time, I promise you everybody has traction, right? You've lost at least an inch, 2, and sometimes some women have hair all the way back there because the hair has just fallen out. And either your genetic makeup, because of your genetic makeup, you have more of the Y chromosome. Let's say if you have it on both your mom and your dad, and you have the balding gene, that's another way you wear your hair. You got to be very careful. So because we don't talk about these things with families. Hey, what's going on with your hair? Nobody ever really talks about that and then it's more acceptable that men bald because that's cool when they have no hair, but nobody thinks it's cool when a woman doesn't have hair, right? Or, I had a girlfriend who saw me in Canada last summer. She has experienced cancer before, but when she saw me, she literally just ran and hugged me and ran to the bathroom and cried. And she was like, when she came back out, she told, and we haven't seen each other in years. We were in high school together. And her name is Susie Perch. We used to call her Susie Q. And when we sat on the table to break bread, she just said, I have to go get myself together. What's going on? Tell me it's not cancer. And that was the first thing she said to me. I was like, no, it's not. This is a choice. I decided to cut my hair. Nobody told me I had to cut my hair. Even when I decided to go for a transplant, it was my choice. And I felt so liberated that I could make a choice at this stage and age and not worry what a husband thought, what a son thought, or my community or my parents or anybody for that matter. Just to do like, I only get a chance to live once. Why can't I explore fully? And what I'm doing is not harming anybody, right? And it's going to grow back. I know this because I've studied this stuff. So I decided, okay, if the Muli mentioned, so I told him, I keep feeling these days, like, especially when I started being in the front of the camera and I started, I would feel like I didn't really enjoy my hair being pulled back because I felt like I had a landing strip here, because my forehead felt so big. And I just thought like, okay. And then I remember having this intimate conversation with my trichologist and he said, it's possible. I mean, that's what he does. And I was just like, how? He's like, let's restore your hairline back. I had a friend of mine who had done it, same doctor. I saw her projection. She had traditional locks like I used to. And then she then switched to Sisterlocks. After her transplant, she was very vocal about it because we had not heard that happening for women. But it was great that, she had that conversation with me. But I tell you what, when I came out of that process that day, she hounded my phone. And I was wondering, why is Peter calling me? Why is she calling me so much? I couldn't understand, well, what emergency is there? Because everywhere I went, my mom was like, hey, she called you. Like all the areas she had been trying to reach me in a way that I was like, whoa, something is up. What's going on? So let me back up a bit. When Muli told me what it would, what all the things, the procedure, what it entail, price, time, and investment of your time, investment in your health. Like once you get a hair transplant, do you know you cannot go out at all? At all. You have to be indoors for 7 days straight, right? I remember freaking out of how I looked. I remember, I'm gonna be real, my cousin was in there with me and I could see he was behind the camera and I could see his whole body changing because I was screaming. I was, I've grown up in the US, so I was using a lot of motherfuckers up in there, you know what I mean? I was like, what the fuck? I did not expect. I don't think anyone could have prepared me for that, but I also think no one prepared me for that. And I think that's really it. And they got a patient that does not hold back. My granddaddy could have told them that a long time ago. I was like, what the freaking frack is going on? I mean, that's how I was talking the whole time. The nurses, everybody got quiet. Everybody was just like, but it just got it got really weird for all of us because in a one moment when that process was going on, all those needles, I knew that I had to get needles, but I did not expect to look the way I looked because everything had to swell in order for them to do the implant. I couldn't recognize the woman that I was seeing in the mirror. The whole procedure happened in front of a mirror so I could see the reflection. At one point, even in the process, I was like, what the hell? What am I doing here? Is it too late to just get up and go? I had all those conversations, I did turn a little wild. I did call them all motherfuckers. I did. I said, you guys are a bunch of motherfuckers. And everyone just paused for a second. And I didn't say it in that tone. I was like, you guys are fucking motherfuckers. Anyway, I went off. And finally, I just took a deep breath after I said that and I let go and I lent myself to the process. I'm gonna say it felt like a relationship go bad, in that moment. Like you go out on a date and then you wish that you could just disappear. You know what I mean? You could just sink, or you don't even want to walk out. You just wish the earth could open and you could sink. That's what I was praying for. Like, how could I just disappear from here? They have all these people around me. Oh my God, what have I done? And then when I saw myself in the mirror, I was like, you can't run anywhere. You look like, I don't know, like a Kimade. I don't even know what that is, but it just felt like that's the only way I could describe it. You know what I mean? Like, bashed, irregular, disfigured. Those were the words and here I was like, and completely